Howdy, and welcome back to Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. I'm halfway through, or actually just about 3/4 of the way through, I'd say, yeah, maybe even a little further, of a build of a vintage kit of a Nike Hercules from Revell. Been working on this off and on for a little while, and getting close to wrapping it up, so I thought I'd share with you a little bit of this kit before it was completed. I'm building one of the Revell repops of this kit that came out in, I think, 1994. The original kit from Revell came out in 1956. It's part of a whole series of missiles and rockets that were very, very popular in the late 50s. They sold, when they first came out, they sold really, really well. And then there was a significant drop-off in sales. So a lot of these kits only got issued, one time in the 50s, and as a result of that, became highly collectible on the secondary model kit market. People were just clamoring to get all these old, missile kits. The molds still existed; they just hadn't been reissued because they didn't sell well at all. So Revell, a couple of times did reissue this kit, first time in the mid-80s, part of their History Maker series, and then again in the 90s as part of their kind of nostalgic kits that they were reissuing. These molds have probably ended up with Atlantis, because a number of the other molds from this series have ended up with them, so I wouldn't be surprised if you see this kit show up with Atlantis. So right now, this is where I'm at. Here's the, when they reissued this, they used the original box art on it. It's not quite as shiny and slick and crisp as the original kit, because this is now being printed straight onto the cardboard as opposed to on the slicks that they would then glue onto the hard boxes. But you still get the look of what the kit would have looked like at the time, kind of doing a pretty good representation of it, even with, the other kits that were available, from them, which was a kind of staple product for them. You've even got the original kit number on here, including the 149 at the end for what the suggested retail price was. So that's where I think these series of kits were pretty neat for that. The unfortunate part of them is that they weren't necessarily molded in the same plastic colors that they had been originally issued. I'm currently also building their reissue, their 90s reissue of the F-94 Starfire, which was Revell's actual first aircraft kit. And the mold quality is definitely lost on it, because that kit has been reissued, countless times. And they also issued it in this kind of really dull gray plastic, as opposed to the kind of that bright, shiny silver plastic that would have made it great for leaving it unpainted. But this one, the molds are actually in pretty decent shape, because this wasn't issued very often. So I'll show you where I'm at with the kit right now. So I've got majority of the sub-assemblies are completed on it. I've got the main part of the missile was completed here. And when I'm building this, I'm building it pretty much straight out of the box with a minimal amount of work on it. Trying to replicate like what a kid would have been building back in the 50s when they first got this kit. Unfortunately, one of the little, I'm not sure exactly what this little part is supposed to be, probably some sort of sensor. One of the wings, that sensor was missing off of there, whether it was a short shot or a broken piece, I don't know. There was a crack in my nose cone piece right here. But as you can see, it's actually got, some pretty decent detail on it. And then there is the booster part, and that went together fairly well. Again, some fairly decent stuff on here. I did prime this with a gray primer, flat gray primer, and then sprayed it with just a generic gloss white, something I think would have been available to a kid, you know, at the time. So I didn't do airbrushing. Just, you know, again, trying to replicate what it would have been like building this at the time. Here's our launcher rail, which has got, you know, quite a lot of detail in it, you know, which I think is pretty impressive for a 55 kit or 56 kit. Here's our launcher base, and there are a couple of the decals have been put onto it already on there. There will be more going on later. And it is supposed to be all movable, you know, like you're supposed to be able to lift the rocket up and pull the rocket off the launcher rail. This is where I ran into some trouble with this, where I kind of stalled on the kit, was getting all these parts to move together. But I've done a lot of sanding, dry fitting, repainting, you know, some of the parts. So I think I've got everything now to the point where I can assemble it and it will actually be working. I want to put a shout out to one of the viewers, Steve Causey. He was building one of these coincidentally, and we shared some tips on how to make this thing work. So I'm going to try to finish this up here. Then we've got some of these final pieces here, the pistons, little hubs for the main launch rail. And here's the decal sheet. Pretty nice. Yeah, that's one of the nice things about, you know, getting the repops is that you get fresh new decals that aren't yellowed. And so sometimes when I can, I'll try to build the kit, you know, the original old kit. Every once in a while, I'll get one of these repops and kind of make do with that, which is what this is. In addition to just about everything else I've got on the table here, the other part that you do get is you do get some figures with it, which Revell was pretty good about making some pretty good looking figures. So these guys, I'll paint these guys up, and you get little stands for them. And the decals, or the instruction sheet that came with this one from the 94 issue was actually just a reprint of the instruction sheet that they made for the History Makers series from the mid-80s. And so unfortunately they didn't give you a reprint of the original instruction sheet on this one, but they did give you a little bit of history of the Nike. Parts call-outs and step-by-step instructions. And the final assembly. So that's where I'm at with it right now. And I'm going to see if I can't get this thing put together, show you what it looks like when it's all done here. Okay, so I've got the large pistons assembled with the rods. And I gotta say, this was definitely a chore. I'm getting these little parts here, these to hook on around this, since this is supposed to be a operational feature on this kit. Keeping these piston tubes, you know, together. These kept popping apart while trying to assemble this whole thing, trying to keep them correctly connected here, getting the glue on there without putting glue inside the tube, without getting the glue onto the pivot point, getting these rods to be able to slide in and out while still being painted, and then getting them hooked on here was quite a bit of a chore here. But I believe I've gotten them completely correctly assembled now. And as you can see, they are functional. And so, got one more step here. This was the step that was really giving me trouble before and I quit. But I think I have gotten it figured out and assembled. So there we go. On to the next part. So I've got the top piston assembly for this rotating arm, and this was substantially easier than these down here. So you got this little pivot rod that goes in and out of that piston there, and this arm swivels back and forth as part of the launch rail. So it kind of goes up. There we go. And oops, back too far. Oh no. There we go. So we got that part there. And so I think that is going to work. And this next part here is to get the actual launching arm inside here and held in by these joints, or by these plugs here. And get that in kind of in the right position. And get these plugs in. There's one. And get in the hole. Get in your hole. Well, maybe that's about as far as it's going to go in today. It seems to be holding it in place, so that may be about as good as we get today. All right, and then this pivot arm is supposed to connect looks like we got some separation going here. Yeah, this is come loose here, so I'm going to need to repair that. I can't imagine some 10-year-old kid putting this thing together. Okay, I'm gonna, since this is a hidden spot inside here, I am going to use some super glue. Because I don't want to disassemble this whole thing again. It's not going to be seen. Yeah, this is an extremely sophisticated kit as far as trying to get this whole assembly to work correctly. I can see how a 10-year-old kid would have had a real hard time with this, especially, I mean, I've got super glue here and, you know, bottle liquid cement, which, you know, didn't exist then. Trying to put this thing together with tube glue, you know, would definitely have been a big challenge. So I can't imagine. Yeah, this looked cool in the box. Is neat making, you know, hey, I'm going to make myself a Nike Hercules. Yeah, how cool is that? But the actual assembly of this kit is extremely sophisticated if you want it to work correctly. And so I can see how it would have been a challenge. All right, I think we still got correct movement going here. This is going back and forth. All right, I'm gonna give this a minute or two for that glue to dry before I try popping the armature onto the rails. So hopefully when we come back, we'll be ready to do that. Okay, so we are back. This was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Ended up breaking some parts off that had been attached. I had to make some adjustments to some things, but I believe I finally have got everything assembled the way that it should be. Not quite sure how a 9, 10, 12-year-old kid would have been able to assemble this without extreme difficulty, particularly utilizing the tools available at the time. But I think I have it working now. So we've got, wait, this popped out again. And so when you put the thing all the way down, this one piston does come apart. Great. Let's see if I can get that back in. There we go. I think it will hold again. So basically, once you get it assembled, it's best not to mess with it. But at this point right now, I do have it functional with the missile mounted on it. Once you get past a certain point, the weight of the missile does start to kind of pull it down. And there you go, right around there is where the tipping point is. So I'm gonna probably display it in a more vertical position like this to be able to keep it from falling on itself. But it is working, and it is all together. So I'm gonna show you what we got right now. So next step is going to be to put on the decals, which I showed you before, but I'll show again. Here's the decal sheet that comes with it. So some stuff for the launcher, some for the missile itself. So I'm gonna start doing that. I'm not gonna show you the process of putting decals on. I'm not doing anything special with this, and everybody should know how to put basic decals onto a model. So wish me luck that these go on easily. And when we come back, hopefully we've got a completed model. So here it is. Finally got all the decals on, got everything put back together, and comes out looking pretty decent. Yeah, there's some minor flaws here and there. A few of the decals were a little challenging to get on just right. But overall, finally comes out looking pretty decent. Certainly not a quick afternoon build. This very much takes quite a bit of time, especially to get all the mechanisms to work correctly. But for a quick, for a vintage build, I did enjoy it, and the overall outcome I think is pretty decent. Again, I didn't do any extra to it, just built it straight from the box. So if you're trying to make a real show quality kit out of this, there's definitely a lot of work that would need to be done. A lot of seams that need to be filled, a lot of fixing of certain areas and stuff. Maybe some better detail painting in a lot of areas, but for the purpose of what I was trying to accomplish here, which is kind of building it as if I was a kid in 1956 putting this thing together, then this achieved the goal that I was looking for. So that's the kit. And yeah, it has a bit of a problem staying up on its own once you get past a certain point. So there you go. Well, if you've built one of these before, let us know in the comment section what your experience with it was. And if you've got built one of these yourself, shoot us some pictures and send it in for the next viewer build video. That's it for today. Thanks for watching and have a great day.